Let's talk about the forgotten organ. Welcome back, y'all, for another video to recalibrate with Raw Natty Nate, aka the Nice Cream King, coming to you live with this raw food thing. You guys, today I wanted to talk about the forgotten organ, the bacteria. Now, the bacteria may not have made the cut to be called an organ, but it works just as hard as our other organs. Now, we're learning so much about bacteria. We're made up of mostly bacteria. Now, the bacteria that I wanted to talk about is the bacteria in our guts, in our tummies. Now, this bacteria, they're not bad. We've got a couple different crews down there. We've got the sanitation crew, and we've got the the builders. Okay, we'll call them the builders. So we've got the sanitation crew, which those guys are making sure all the waste is getting picked up and moved through the conveyor belt out where it needs to go. It needs to exit, right? Now, those guys in our world today are getting fed very well. So the builders actually take days off, and they start to maybe even leave the system because they're like, you know, we don't really need to build much in here. Let's just leave it up to the waste management team. So the waste management team, the sanitation crew, just make sure that all of the stuff that we're putting in is getting moved through properly. Now, this stuff that I'm talking about, the waste management team deals with, is all of the foods that we put into our body that is cooked to death in an oven, or processed, highly processed, or it's not even real food. It's more of like a food-like product. These kinds of foods are foods that the waste management team deals with. Now, the foods that the builders want are the fiber foods, being your fruits and your vegetables. Vegetables like potatoes and carrots and such like that, and broccoli and things like that. But there's absolutely no fiber in any of the animal products. There's no fiber in milk. There's no fiber in cheese. So the fiber is found in the greens. The fiber is found in the roughage and in the fruits. Now, that food is what is going to help the builders be more active, and they're going to be building better buildings. You know, just to speak in analogies, right? I don't know, trying to figure out different ways to describe this kind of concept, even to myself, just to understand it on a third grade level. So if we're feeding those builders, you guys, that's when everything's happening. Everything's booming. There's new parks being built, there's big buildings being built, and stuff's rolling smoothly. Maybe it's not the best analogy, but either way, those guys right there are who we want to feed. Now, if we're not feeding them, and we're feeding the sanitation crew mostly, but with these dead products, cooked products, food-like products, then the builders are going to, like I said, they're going to take days off. They're not going to be predominantly taking charge down there, which is going to lead to lower immunity, more stress, more sluggish system. It's more tired. You know, we get more tired, lethargic, you know, more brain fog, these kinds of things, more aches and pains, more inflammation, poor digestion, poor elimination, constipation, dehydration, these different things, because cooked foods and highly processed foods absorb a lot of water from our cells just to move them through the intestines. So it's really important to feed our bacteria their preferred fuel source, which is high fibrous foods such as fruits and vegetables predominantly. I personally feel, from what I've seen and the studies that I've spent time researching, is that we should be ingesting 80% of our calories from raw fruits and vegetables. The other 20%, if we choose, could be some cooked plants, plant-based foods, maybe some funky junk here and there. But it's really hard to stay 80-20. A lot of times that 20 grows and it trickles over. Pretty soon we're eating 80% junk and only 20% good stuff, and then pretty soon it's 5% good stuff, and the next thing you know, we didn't have hardly any good stuff throughout the entire week. So I choose myself personally to stay with just raw foods, fruits and vegetables, uncooked, because I just want to live the healthiest life that I can possibly live. I don't like to restrict myself. I don't like to do anything extreme. I just want to play, and I want to eat good, healthy foods. I want to have a strong immune system. I want to feed my good gut bacteria. Not that there's good and bad, because we do need the bad ones, the bad guys being the sanitation crew. They're not bad, but they will overgrow the builders. There'll be more of a population of sanitation crew than builders if we feed them. The builders will take days off. And then if we were to ingest stuff like cucumber, the builders, the fiber thriving guys, there's not going to be enough for them to break down and digest that cucumber. Another thing that's really tricky too, you guys, is there's certain individuals that like to get extreme. They want to have extreme results. They want to have them fast. So they'll do different things like different fasts, or they'll go on cleanses or detoxes. Now these kind of things, they have their place for sure. I'm not saying that they don't have their place, but it is really tricky. It's a fine line there, because say you, if you were to go and eat one kind of food for say a month straight, then that's really going to alter the whole bacterial game in our gut, and we're not going to have what we need to be able to process other foods that we may want to incorporate in our life after that month is up. If you're juicing, I love juices. I love fresh pressed juices, but they have zero fiber, and that's not necessarily the way that God or the designer designed it. We have our juicers are right here. They're our teeth. They masticate whatever we're eating. We get all the fiber, we suck all the juices, that fiber goes down with the sugars, everything is digested at a different rate. Now, like I said, I am not against fasting or detox. That whole concept, it's a beautiful concept, but when we're talking about feeding our bacteria, the bacteria want the fiber. And if you cut out their fiber by just drinking juices or just eating total funk, those fiber thriving bacteria are going to die off. And that's what I'm talking about, the forgotten organ. Those guys are so important for our immune health. They're so important to keep the inflammation low, to have our joints working good, have better blood flow. All of these kind of things really play into effect if we feed those builders properly. I don't know if any of this stuff is making sense. Maybe I'm just totally rambling on with this analogy, but I'm doing my best to try to get this point across on how important it is to feed our gut, to feed that bacterial colony down there that thrive off of fiber. They don't thrive off of dead food, cooked food, junk food, any of that kind of stuff. But they will take days off. They won't come to work if they're not needed. But they are needed. We have to feed them. We have to grow those guys. If you don't feed them very often, like I said, and you eat a cucumber or have a salad and you're real bloated and gassy, it's because there's not enough of those builders to digest that food. And if you guys are interested in trying to incorporate more of these raw, fresh fruits and vegetables into your life, but you're just not really sure how to go about it, I'm going to put a link in the description down below for some ebooks that we sell. We have 30-day meal plans, 3 different meal plan books, hundreds of recipes, so you'll never get bored. It'll all be delicious stuff, and it'll help feed those fiber thriving guys, the ones that we want to be strong. Anyways, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick little video. If you've stayed this long, give yourselves a thumbs up. If this is something you're into, make sure you hit the subscribe button for more videos to come. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. And until next time, guys, love ya.